and we're both girls. That's not what she wants in a partner, so I'd never make her as happy as she deserves to be.
You shouldn't run.
I'm not running.
Really? Then try to take her back from me.
Okay, we're one more episode to the end of I'm in Love with the Villainess, and I thought this episode was really good, okay? I'm gonna put that energy out there. I thought this episode was solid and was really good. I have two major gripes. Two major nitpicks, two major complaints, okay? The first one is I do really think that the introduction of the princess was a facet or a too little too late scenario. I think that by the introduction of the princess, it introduced one of the things that I think makes the anime better or makes the anime more entertaining, which is showing up a love rival for Rei, right? Remove the prince, the all three princes, remove all of the other shenanigans. I think introducing a true love rival for Rei and her affection or possibility of opening up this fourth path with Claire, I think is the most interesting thing. And it has introduced real entertainment and comedy and nuance into the show. Even the battle, like I don't think it does the magic stuff too well, but even the battle between the princess and Rei, I thought was really exceptional, especially introducing an OP character that could not only challenge Rei from a love rival for Claire perspective, but could also challenge Rei holistically in this world. It's pretty well established now that Rei is a little OP herself. She's able to use a lot of moves and has a lot of mana pool. She has a lot of things to pull by. She's an exceptional talent, probably the most talented person outside of the princess landing in this school. So I think that just that nuance and everything it provides is just so good for this show, and it immediately bumps the show up. The sad thing about that, the thing that pisses me off, is the fact that we're getting this or two episodes before the end of the season. So they're introducing these high stakes, high level character who can really come out and challenge Rei, challenge the status quo, challenge the character, be a viable love rival for Claire, even though that she might not necessarily like really want that. She's just doing it to poke fun at Rei to kind of get her to like man up kind of thing. But the fact is that it's still like it's not the way that Rei's taking that. And I think to fully see this out and fully fledge it out, her appearing episode 7 or 8 or something, like instead of 2 episodes back, 4 or 5 episodes back, I think would have given it a lot more time. Now, you might argue like, well, this is a season 2 setup and stuff like that. But okay, let's assume season 2 will be announced. Okay, first and foremost is, and I know I say that shit a lot, but like the first point is, we might not get a season 2. So that's the first thing. But let's say we do. 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years. I know there's anime coming back in winter that we haven't seen since 2019, 2020, 2021. 2 years, 3 years, right? Like, so when you have an anime like this, in my personal opinion, there's those that love it, and that might be you. I know there's a lot of you in the comments that it's like this, like no matter what poo-poo episode this shit's out, you guys are, I love it. I'm like, hey, I get it. I'm like that way for a lot of other shows too. But for me, this show's been so hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold, 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 hot. It's been such a weird, it's so inconsistent that it's like, okay, let's say season 2 gets announced for this show, even though that they introduced a compelling character that I thought really bumped up the show and really made it more watchable to me. Even if season 2 gets announced next week for next spring or next summer or whatever it is, even like I'm not watching it. Like I already checked out. So anyways, that's a big roundabout way. That's my first nitpick is too little too late. the second nitpick I had is, or like the second like thing that really stood off to me in this episode that didn't take away from its greatness, it would have just been nice to see, is I thought Ray hit on the most serious, important fact about the show. And she did it internally, like internal dialogue. She's talking, and the princess is like threatening, like, I could take her away. How dare you say you love her, but are willing to let her go so easy? Like, if you love her, fight for her. And in one part, you can understand where Ray's coming from of, if you love it, let it go. Or if you love it and it doesn't choose you, it's just not meant to be. Doesn't mean you love them any less, but it's one thing's like, you want the person you love to be happy, you know, in a sense. For her, it's like, even if they're not with me kind of thing, because like if she forces it, Claire potentially, there's always a potential no matter what, but the potential could be miserable. So on one sense, you get where she's coming from. I do side more with the princess, is like, if you love something, pour your all into it, and if you lose it, you let it go, and it just is what it is. But at least you gave it your all to it. So I do side with her more on that. But you have to understand, Ray's never, you know, in her prior life, like this is all she had. This visual novel is all she had. You know, her stories are all she had. Her personal writings are all she had. She was a corporate slave kind of person. Like, she never experienced love and got to fall in love and fall out of love and get her heart broken. Like, she never got to experience all that. So you can understand the reservedness of it. I can understand that. The most serious point that I was leading to, though, is she says two things. Not only is she a commoner, like, to make her love real and to see that as a reality, not only is she a commoner, but she's also a girl. And those are two extremes in this world, is a noble falling in love or being in love or being able to marry or being able to be in a consensual relationship with commoner and noble is not something readily accepted, okay? And it's like, it takes a lot. And I'm sure it happens, but it's like the 1%, not the rule. So immediately, that's an exorbitant mountain that she has to climb, is commoner, noble love. The second one is, on top of everything else, same-sex type relationships in this fantastical world that it's depicting is just not accepted. So that's another thing. It's like, that's another hurdle. Again, I'm sure it's a 1%, not the rule. I'm sure it's out there and it happens. I'm sure there is same-sex love somewhere in this world, or else the princess wouldn't be acting like she is, right? And her rumors for the princess, based on what the other girls told Ray, is that she gets a little freaky-deaky with her lady underling. So again, it's not outlandish, but it's just not the norm. So those are two very hill mountains that she has to climb to get to where she wants to be. But for the princess's point is like, is Claire not worth it? And that's something that she has to look into more deeply. But I was a little perturbed or a little like disappointed in the fact that she didn't verbalize that to the princess. Like, I would have loved to have heard Ray, instead of internalizing it, verbalize it to the princess and say, hey, not only am I a commoner, but I'm a girl. And I would just have loved to hear the princess' response to that. On top of that, and I'm going to end on this note, on top of that, you know, when she quits and talks to Claire and says, you know, she's boo-hooing, basically. She's being a self-pity little person. You know, she's talking to Claire. I would have loved for her to tell her, like, I love you so much that I was willing to compete for you, just like you wanted when you were talking about the scales, how you wanted, you don't know what you want, so you want people to compete for you. I wanted to do that for you versus the princes. But not only did I lose, even if I won, I'm a girl and I'm a commoner. What do you want me to do? And I would have just loved to hear Claire respond to that too. I think those are two failed opportunities. Now, again, that moment could happen in episode 12, and I'm crossing fingers because I think there'll be such a moment of seriousness that the anime hasn't really done well for it to do it and nail it. And if it does, I think that'll be really good for the people who, like I said, really love this show. And it would do well for me too, just as a viewer who sometimes likes it and sometimes hates it. So anyways, I'll leave you guys on those thoughts. Very long video today. Let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. Appreciate you guys being here. See you guys next week for the last episode of I'm in Love with the Villainess. Peace out, my homies, my friends, my dudes, my gals. Peace.